The main thing that bothered me as a kid was that I was a very curious child and I wanted to know things. I always asked things, or why is it like that? Why did it happen like this? Why God did this? Why Jesus did that? Instead of answers, usually what I would hear was, don't ask the questions, just believe. It's your faith. You must believe. You cannot ask any questions. And that was very off-putting for me as a kid because, I just wanted answers. I started reading Quran first online. And then when I was out, I found some brothers giving away free Qurans, and they happened to have one in Polish. Or I knew that my time to accept Islam is coming, but I wasn't ready. I'm not crazy. Everyone knew how bad Islam is, and we watched enough news on the TV or on the internet about all the terrorists and bad people doing all the bad things, and basically they were always Muslims. I started questioning my beliefs first when I was still a kid. Something I could observe amongst people who were teaching me that religion. So they were preaching, but they were not living it. It always made me think, what is causing the difference and why are things like this happening? I started searching other religions, and I started reading other works, and that would include so-called satanic Bible or something. The weird thing, and it's somewhat sad, is that even though I considered myself open-minded and tolerant, and even though I did reach out to read satanic Bible, I drew the line on Islam. I was like, I might be crazy, but not crazy enough to actually look at Islam. Like, everyone knows Islam is bad. Everyone knows it's a terrorist religion. Everyone knows that, it's not a good place to be. So everyone knew how bad Islam is. And, we watched enough news on the TV or on the internet about all the terrorists and bad people doing, all the bad things. And basically they were always Muslims. It all started because my late husband, and he was Muslim. So I asked him, I was like, why do you actually follow Islam? What's in it for you? It doesn't make sense. You're just limiting yourself. And he said, well, if you find some mistakes in Islam, I will leave Islam. I started reading Quran first online. And then when I was out, I found some brothers giving away free Qurans, and they happened to have one in Polish. I started asking him, why is it like this? This doesn't make sense. This is wrong. This is not okay. This is not fair. But every time I was talking to him about it, he was able to explain things to me in such a way that I was like, actually makes sense. And this makes sense. This is not a mistake. I feel like the first thing I liked about Islam, it comes back to the fact that when I was a kid, I was told to not ask any questions and just blindly follow, the church and what they teach. When I started learning about Islam, I learned that with Islam, it's the opposite. Islam says, keep asking questions, keep educating yourself. Do not follow things blindly. Do not take them for granted. If someone says something, check the source, ensure that they mean the right thing. Don't just blindly follow them. And this is something that actually made me feel like, it makes sense. When we were in Poland, I went to a bookstore, and when I saw they had just one book, I didn't really pay attention much to the title. I just saw it's about Islam, so I bought it. I was very excited to read it. What can other people find in Poland about Islam? And we were on our way back from Poland to UK in the plane, and I opened the book. I was very disappointed to see that it was anti-Islamic book. It's my head, I thought I've learned about Islam from my husband, and I've learned about Islam from the internet and from some scholars. I did my research from Muslim perspective, so it wouldn't hurt me to see it from the opposite side, from people who dislike Islam. Let's see what they have to say. Maybe they have something new to add. Maybe they have something I've missed. So I started reading it. Everything that I found questionable or weird or interesting as well about Islam, I would ask my husband, she says this and that. How do you understand it? Like, is she right? Or what would you say about this particular topic about Islam? Because I decided I don't really need it anymore. I've learned enough from her, if there was anything to learn. I just wanted to see from other perspectives how they understood Islam. The more I knew that my time to accept Islam is coming, but I wasn't ready just yet. I wanted to make sure that I'm doing it for myself, not for my husband, not for people, not for, my friends or whatever. I wanted to do it for myself and for Allah. So yeah, I took my time before I made that decision. I couldn't prove that there were any mistakes in Islam. And from that moment, I realized that I started considering if that's my way, because once I learned about Islam and what it is, I felt like I couldn't really deny it. I also told my mom that, Mom, I started learning about Islam and it actually isn't as bad as they say, and it actually makes more sense than you can imagine. And my mom was still quite scared of that. She was like, you probably become Muslim one day. And I was like, don't worry about it. There's no way. But then a few months later, I told her, well, actually, you were right, because, it just makes sense to me and I'm considering it. And she was still scared, even though she saw that my husband is a good man. She saw that, we have good life and that we're not doing anything crazy. As any mom would, she was still worried about me and about how it will impact my life. And then I accepted Islam and literally nothing happened. So she kind of accepted it as well. Like, oh my God, no way, like what my friends will say. They will point fingers at me. They will, talk about me behind my back and this. But then I realized they probably do it anyway. I was a bit of an outsider all my life anyways. And, pointing fingers at me was pretty much part of my life. So I realized, why do I worry? It doesn't matter, because the truth is that, I believe in Allah. In my heart, I already knew that, even though I'm not speaking it aloud, in my heart, I knew that I'm already Muslim. I just have to admit it to myself and then to others. And that was the biggest difficulty of it, really. But once I realized that other people don't really matter in that particular aspect, it was very, very easy for me to just do what I needed to do and accept it. I woke up one day and I had this clarity in my head. I was like, okay, today is the day, I woke up and I was like, it's time. There's no more excuses. There's no need. And like, I felt super confident and I was like, okay, I want to say my shahada today. And yeah, I woke up my husband. I told him, let's do it. We just sat on our sofa and I said shahada with him. I was at peace. Most important, the feeling was that I was at peace and I was content with my decisions. I knew I'm doing the right thing, but I was a little bit shocked and overwhelmed as well. I thought to myself, how did that happen? Like, even though I knew how it happened, but still it was just it did feel weird for me in one hand, because, if you knew me before I accepted Islam, you'd probably be as shocked, because I was always quite a rebellious kind of girl.